Okay. If I can get this to work. Let's see, let's see. See if they have oops. I didn't need to do that. It looks like they got QuickTime running on here. Doesn't look like anything happening now. Yeah, actually, I'm looking for a picture, unfortunately, too. Yeah, you know, it may just simply be they don't have QuickTime installed on here properly. Let's see if I can find another way to play this. Yeah, let's give that a try. Nope. No, it's a QuickTime file, so. But it looks like it wants to. I can see why it's not doing this. Nope. Okay, I'll do this some other night. Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about before. Let's take a look at this spreadsheet stuff and see what it can do for us. Okay, I'm going to open Excel. I'm going to open Excel by opening an Excel file. It's going to open up the program for me automatically. Okay, and this is Excel. This is what Excel looks like when it opens up. It's going to be a grid. It's going to be a list of numbers and columns. And the columns are going to be listed as letters. I'm going to leave close. Okay, the columns are listed as letters and the rows are listed as numbers. Okay, so any particular cell in here can be identified by a letter and a number. For instance, this is E15 and so on and so forth. Okay, in these columns and these numbers, I can put one of three things. I can put a label, which is really what they call a text field. Say January. Okay, I can put a number. Okay, and as soon as I enter a number, notice it left justifies it, right justifies any text fields, and so on and so forth. Okay, so put a whole bunch of numbers in there, and I can put a function. Now, this is the thing that makes Excel really valuable. In this box, I can put a representation of some calculation. Now, I'm going to put a simple one in here. I'm going to put it, and the way that you tell Excel that you're about to put a equation or a calculation into that cell or a function is you put an equal sign, you type an equal sign. All I did was type an equal sign. It recognized, you guys notice something changed over there? This line appeared here, this function line appeared here. That little f of x, insert function, that equal sign, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm going to put a very simple equation or function in here. I'm going to add these three numbers. Now this number is in the cell C4. Okay, so I'm going to put C4. I'm going to hit plus, shift plus, and I'm going to say add to that C5. I'm going to hit shift plus, add to that C6, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and it adds those four cells. Okay, simple as can be, right? Except that you can extend this enormously. the real power of this is that, let's say you have thousands of these numbers, and you've added them all up, you've gotten subtotals and so on and so forth, you've done other calculations based on these numbers and so on and so forth, and then you find out that this value 200 was really the value 300, right? Well, you're kind of stuck. You've done a ton of calculations based on that. If you've used the paper ledger, you have to go back and start all over again. If I do it on here, I'm going to put a 500 in there. When I hit enter, it's going to update that total automatically. Very simple here, but enormous savings of time if you had to do this all manually by hand, and if you were dealing with a very complex calculation. Okay, another thing that Excel has that, you know, it's not just these simple arithmetic calculations that you can do with Excel. You can also do complex calculations with Excel, and it has a built-in library of many, many, many functions that you can use. For instance, if I click on this f of x, it brings up a box with, I'm sorry I don't have my Mac set up here because I'm a little bit more functional with my Mac. I can zoom into areas and stuff like that a little bit easier. And I can work from the trackpad in the corner there rather than sideways. But if you look in here, right now it's only displaying the most recently used functions. I can ask it to display all the built-in functions here. And we have all sorts of trigonometric functions, we have math functions, statistical functions, engineering functions. We're just through the C's now, D's now, and so on and so forth. There probably could be as many as 1,000 functions built into here. One of the functions, for instance, that's built into here is called sum. I'm going to go into just math functions. Okay, it's just going to list the math functions. And I'll go down to the S's. The mouse is a little goofy here. Okay, sum. It describes the function, what it does, sum, number 1, number 2, and so on and so forth. It adds all the numbers in a range of cells. I'm going to click OK. Okay, and now it's waiting for me to actually tell it what those cells are. In other words, for now, it has C4 through C5. It uses the colon to say from here to here, from C4 to C5. Actually, I think, what was it, C4 to C, was it C3? Anybody remember what cells they were? They were C4 through C, oh, I stuck it in that cell. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to hit escape. Now I could do it that way. Another way I can do is I can just click in here. I can hit the equal sign. And now that I know that function is called sum, instead of calling that function up again, I can just type it, S-U-M, parentheses. And as soon as I hit that parentheses, that open parentheses, it describes the function to me. It says, oh yeah, we got one that's exactly like that, sum, number 1, number 2. So I can put in here, I can put in C4, colon, shift colon, C6. So it's going to take the sum of all the numbers between C4 and C6. And hit enter, and it does exactly the same thing that we did before. Okay, so we have that function, but we have 1,000 functions like this, including many statistical functions. Another shortcut that you can use here is that you can say, okay, I'm going to do it again, SUM, parentheses, and now instead of typing the numbers in, see it's waiting for me to type the numbers in, I can just click down, hold the key down, hold the mouse button down, and drag, and actually fills in the range for me. Okay, and then you could have hundreds or thousands of numbers, and it gives me the same answer again. Okay, so there's a number of shortcuts that you're going to be learning here that are going to facilitate the use of Excel for you, make it a really valuable tool for you. Okay, now another thing that you can do with Excel is that Excel will intelligently repeat calculations for you. Let's say we have an inventory. We have 10 things that cost $11.20 each, and we want to know how much the subtotal is for that. Equals, let's see, I'm going to put the equal sign in there, and it's going to be 10, that cell, times this cell. Notice I'm using I'm pointing to identify the cells rather than typing them in, but you could type them in F3 asterisk G3, hit enter, and there it does the calculation. Now you can take another function in Excel. You could say, I'm going to take this number 100. And let's say I want to repeat that in the next 10 cells. You can click on that and drag down here, and you can go up to, where is Phil? Fill, where's Phil? Phil, sort and fill, here's Phil. Fill down. And it copies that number down into all those other cells, right? It repeated that same number. Well, if we go over here, in this cell, there's not just a number. Look, when I clicked in there, it brought up that formula. It's not a number, but it's a formula. It's a calculation. Excel will understand when you click on that and drag down here. When you go up here and tell it to copy that cell down, it says, well, that's a formula, and I got two numbers right next to each other in the entire row. It repeats that calculation for each cell rather than actually just copy the number. So if I click in here, instead of in here like it's F3 times G3, down here it's F6 times G6. It did that automatically. So this is really powerful. This is really going to help us out. It's going to simplify a lot of calculations. This is stuff that's worth learning. That's why we want you to learn this stuff. Okay, now I'm going to open up another one. Take the next step here. Okay, here's a simple budget that I laid out. Okay, for instance, it's all your debits, what you spend in a month. What am I going to do here? I'm going to take a sum, find out what it costs me to live for a month. Sum for all of these cells. Okay, so I'm in the hole $17.40 a month. And I have some salary, I do some tutoring, and mom and pop help out once a month. You know, like I go there for some money, equals sum, parentheses. Let's see how much I'm making a month. Well, I got a basic problem here. I'm spending more than I'm making. I think this is a familiar problem, right? Okay, well, let's see how much more. I'm going to go into balance here, and I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to say, this is what I had, what my income is, minus what my monthly expenses are. Okay, so I'm in the hole for $340. Well, now I can go back and use Excel to experiment, so you can see cause and effect. Well, what if I don't spend $500 a month on entertainment? I only spend $300 a month. Oh, things are looking better. I'm only in the hole $140. Well, how about if I find a roommate and I cut my, we don't want to reduce our tuition, you know, because we need that money here. Okay. Let's go into rent and cut our rent in half. That's a week. This is weekly, let's say. Let's say we get a roommate, we cut our rent in half. This turns into $250. And here I am, I'm putting money in the bank now. Okay? Excel's a good tool for us to learn. Okay? Statistically, next week we're going to use it strictly for statistics. Okay? In fact, next thing we're going to look at now is also going to involve something that's a little bit more practical. The reason why I showed you this is because one of the homework, there's 4 little things on the homework assignment. One is city program, that's the main thing. Okay? The other 2 or 3 things are make a simple thing in Excel and just upload it to Blackboard. So I know that you've opened Excel and used it for something simple, and you've made an effort, right? That's all I need is an effort. Doesn't have to be anything complicated, just a few lines. And the next thing is going to be an Excel exercise that involves something we're going to do here right now. Just keeping an eye on the time because I know you guys are. One other thing I want to mention to you is that you can also use Excel to do some graphics as well. And you know, every once in a while you're going to see me struggle with this version of Excel because I work with PCs and Macs, but different versions of Excel. If your version of Excel looks a little bit different, it's going to have all these functions in it. You may find them in a different spot, right? It may not look exactly the same. I'm going to try and alternate between Macs and PCs each week, so you guys get a look at it both ways. Okay, and what I want to go into here is I want to go into charts. Where are the charts? Where are the charts? Tables, charts, graphs?
Maybe under insert?
Data? Insert, yeah, good idea. Column, here, let's make a column graph out of this. Bing, automatically create a graph. Just simply from the fact that this was laid out this way, Excel understood what those numbers were and presented them graphically for me, including the title on the graph and so on and so forth. We'll get into, now I know how to lay it out to make it do that easily, right? But you'll learn very quickly, like, if I do it this way, Excel will understand what I'm doing and how to modify it and so on and so forth. So we can do graphics with Excel as well. Okay, so let's talk about statistics.